red flag that we were in for a disastrous movie here. But welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. You're probably wondering, why am I wearing the same shirt as yesterday? Well, I'm recording this on the same day. Why? I don't know. I just wanted to go ahead and, I don't know, I just got the urge to want to do this one today because it's March 25th, 2016, and that means we get to talk about one of the most anticipated movies of the time period, Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, a movie that everyone was hyping up to be the next big blockbuster. You know, there was all those memes out there that were saying, oh, you thought Star Wars The Force Awakens had a gigantic opening weekend? Well, wait until you see what Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice does, and we'll see how you feel about it. And yeah, it made about less than $100 million less than what Star Wars The Force Awakens did. So, oops. And by the way, this movie didn't get the best reviews either, and once we go through this, you're going to see why. So, oh boy, let's get ready to delve into this one here. Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. And it's important to note how we got to this point, because of course, Man of Steel came out in 2013, was a big hit, and I did like that movie. I didn't like Henry Cavill as Superman, nor his... I'll say I didn't hate his performance. I just didn't think it was as good as it could have been. And my biggest problem with it was simply the fact that Zack Snyder, the director of this, clearly did not want to make a Superman movie. He wanted to make Superman like Batman, and you can't really do that with two different people, with two different styles of superheroes here. So, the film was a hit regardless, and then not but a couple weeks after the movie came out at Comic-Con, they announced this movie that was coming out that was going to feature Batman. A sequel to Superman, I should say, was going to feature Batman. And not too long after that, Ben Affleck was cast as Batman, which I didn't think was a bad idea. I thought it was a weird idea to get a much older actor like him to play that role, but hey, he's one of the best things about this movie, and his Batman was actually one of the best things about the DCEU, to be perfectly honest. So, time went on, and we waited to see what this movie was going to be like. The trailers were looking very promising when it was Batman and Superman is in scenes like that great. Like, I like that interaction between the two of them about how you know Superman's criticizing. Clark Kent's basically criticizing Bruce Wayne about the fact that, he doesn't seem to have much to say about the Bat Vigilante, and then Batman's just like, well, it's funny you say that, because apparently you have a superhero in your town that is it sounds very hypocritical in my opinion, something like that, but stuff like that was pretty good, but the moment you see people like Lex Luthor coming in there and, let's save that. Let's just get to the action movie, because I'm already 3 minutes into this review and I haven't even talked about what the plot of this movie was. Following his titanic struggle against General Zod, Metropolis has been razed to the ground, and Superman is the most controversial figure in the world. While for many he is still an emblem of hope, a growing number of people consider him a threat to humanity, seeking justice for the chaos he has brought to Earth. As far as Bruce Wayne is concerned, Superman is clearly a danger to society. He fears for the future of the world with such a reckless power left ungoverned, and so he dons his mask and cape to right Superman's wrongs. The rivalry between them is furious, fueled by bitterness and vengeance, and nothing can dissuade them from waging this war. However, a dark new threat arises in the form of a third man, one who has a power greater than either of them to endanger the world and cause total destruction. So, yeah, from that premise alone, you can pretty much see the major problems with the movies right from the get-go. And like I said, Man of Steel, I liked it, but it's one of those polarizing movies, and the fact that DC was finally trying to combat Marvel Cinematic Universe, and that's the film they're going to start it off on, I mean, here is the biggest problem with what Warner Brothers was trying to do with DC. Because what Marvel was doing with their cinematic universe, it took them time to do that. They had to wait to get the rights back from all these other studios. They had to figure out how to do what they were going to do with the cinematic universe. How was this going to pan out? And lo and behold, they did. Not only did they do it, but they did it very well for at least the 12 years between the first Iron Man movie and then all the way up to Spider-Man: Far From Home. But they took their time with it. They took their time, they waited to see what was going to be successful, what was not going to work, and they decided to just go from there. The problem with Warner Brothers doing this is that they basically looked at that and said, you guys took your time on that, shenanigans. We can go ahead and make our own cinematic universe, but we're going to do it in half the time that it took you to make your movie. And we'll show you that quality is not as good as quantity is. Sorry about that. I had something in my throat for a second. But what I was trying to say is that we're going to show you, Disney. We're going to show you that quality is much better than quantity is much better than quality. Yeah, you can keep doing what you're going to do because your stick is going to fade out so easily. But we're going to come in and we're going to dismantle the ever-loving shit out of you. And when it comes to this one, which was met with negative reviews, so that director Zack Snyder is doing what all egotistical directors do when people talk shit about their movies. They talk shit about them, ranging from calling the Ant-Man movie back then a flavor of the week to that crazy complaint of, well, you didn't mind it when Star Wars killed thousands of people. But don't worry, though. Zack Snyder will completely try to make his better version of Star Wars with Rebel Moon, and we all know how well that turned out. So the whole problem is that it's a lazy-ass argument for why his movie didn't work. And the movie didn't work. And I can tell you why as we go along here. And I did go into this movie with the hope that it was going to be good. But, I mean, this is bad. This is really, really bad. I mean, don't get me wrong. You got that Snyder was trying with this one to make it work, but this is pretty lame. And I'll start with the positives, because like I said, there are things I liked about it. I liked the opening 20 minutes of it. I mean, yeah, granted, having to see Bruce Wayne seeing the bats for the first time and seeing yet another interpretation of Batman's parents getting shot, this time by Colin Kaepernick. I'm not even kidding. He literally looks like Colin Kaepernick, which is funny because not but a year later, he'd be under scrutiny for something else by far higher people in power, but that's a different story altogether. I mean, they look so alike, though. Watch that scene and then get a picture of Colin Kaepernick and tell me I'm not crazy by looking at that. It's like when I said that Grant Hill looks like Corey Coleman from Double Toasted. I mean, come on, how can people not see it? The similarities are right there. But anyway, back to the review. The movie is at least smart enough to get it out of the way and speed through it quickly because we've seen this done over and over again. And they were lucky to get it done early and focus on other aspects. The other half of the showing where Bruce Wayne was during the destruction of Metropolis, I thought that was pretty good, blending him into that situation, but not forcing him in there. But then again, that's just the power of Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne. I mean, I thought they picked the right guy to do it. I get why people were bitching and moaning the first time when Affleck was cast, because, yeah, those same people also forgot that, Michael Keaton in the '89 Batman movie, Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight were also met with mixed receptions. Even Robert Pattinson, when he became Batman, people were just like, really? The Twilight dude's gonna be Batman? But you start to realize that, hey, these guys clearly know what they're doing. And yeah, I thought that Ben Affleck was, at that point, the best live-action Bruce Wayne Batman we had added up to that point. I mean, he just finds that right blending to capture both billionaire playboy Bruce Wayne and Detective Batman all into one, right down to the voice for Batman. I mean, Michael Keaton was great at Batman. Christian Bale was great as Bruce Wayne. Both were kind of iffy on their alter egos, but it's Affleck who really nails that role down nicely. And, it would have been cool to see what he would have done had he got a chance to make that solo movie that he was going to star in, write, and direct. But, of course, that never happened because the DCEU kind of shrunk in on itself as we got further down the road. But even somebody like Gal Gadot, who was, as Wonder Woman, who, she was another character a lot of people didn't think was rightfully casted for the role, but she made it work. As both Diana Prince and Wonder Woman, she managed to work that performance to her advantage, and she had some good chemistry with Bruce Wayne. And, of course, she would follow it up with easily the best movie in the DCEU with Wonder Woman. But even that fell on some fluster, but we'll get to that one eventually. But the fighting scenes are really good, too. Watching Batman and Superman kick the crap out of each other, that was fun to watch, even if it really makes no sense why they're fighting. But again, we will touch on that later on. I'll even give the Justice League cameos some credit, because they do feel rushed in for no reason whatsoever, taking up a minute of time that really could have been hold off for the main story. Hell, could have been the end credit stinger, but no, they throw it in right before the final climax. Like, you get glimpses of Ezra Miller's Flash, you get to see Jason Momoa's Aquaman and Ray Fisher's Cyborg, but I felt like that's something they should have saved for the end credits. But those are the stuff I really didn't like. Now let's go ahead and get to the stuff that made me say that this is the worst movie of 2016. And I do say that with the truest of consent. This is the worst movie of 2016, in the same vein that the Super Mario Galaxy movie right now is the worst movie of 2026, because it focuses on way too much stuff going on in terms of nostalgia sakes and bringing fan service instead of actually telling a story. The story is a huge clusterfuck. And I mean, they really do not make this... They really do not need to make this as messy and sloppy as this needs to be. You could have just had a simple story that has Batman and Superman fighting over something solely on the events of the previous movie. And even the opening part suggests that there's going to be some kind of reference to the criticisms of too much destruction from the first movie. Like how Age of Ultron made the reference to it. But then by the final action sequence, you just completely skip over and it ended up causing even more destruction and death than Man of Steel did. Well, but that's okay, because the movie has to keep making references about how every area they're going to is uninhabited and everyone has gone home for the day. And no, just because you say that doesn't mean you're off the damn hook. You can't do that. You can't dumb down your audience like that, and that's dumbing down your audience to a T. On top of that, the whole titular fight of Batman and Superman. We've been waiting for a long time for this, and the movie is so sluggish. They don't even have a good reason for why these two are fighting in the first place. I mean, if they were just fighting over the events of Man of Steel, that'd be fine. But no, the movie doesn't address it whatsoever. The only reason they're fighting is because Lex Luthor kidnaps Superman's mom and says, hey, go beat up Batman because he pissed me off. We'll get to him, and again, we'll get to Lex Luthor later on, but literally, the last fight scene with Doomsday. That's right, Doomsday is in this movie. Just seems tacked on. The movie could have just ended with Batman and Superman and Lex Luthor fighting it out, and it would have been fine, but no. And you could have said Doomsday for Justice League, which you should do, because Doomsday is the villain who literally kills Superman in the comics by himself. But no, we need fan service, and once again, they do a shitty job at it because, well, why not? I mean, nothing about this villain looks intimidating whatsoever. They don't even try to match him. He looks like a fucking Ninja Turtle. No, you know what he looks like? Abomination from the Incredible Hulk. Seriously. Look at a picture of Doomsday from this movie and Abomination from the Incredible Hulk. It's not... So not only is DC not even trying to get the characters right from the comics, but they're plagiarizing Marvel in the process. Marvel should fucking sue their asses. But then again, Marvel did kind of steal the Superman aspect for them in X-Men Origins Wolverine, so I guess it's their way of getting revenge, I guess. But Doomsday sucks in this. But to their credit, they do have a reason for Doomsday to be there, and that is, of course, to kill Superman, just like what happened in the death of Superman. And sure enough, that's what they do here, and I will give them credit that they actually do go through with Superman dying in this. Yes, he's coming back in the next movie, but if Zack Snyder sticks to what he said his plan was for Superman, I think there would have been something great there, but of course he didn't really do that. But really, that wasn't by choice, because, that's another thing we'll get to when we get to Justice League. People don't realize what the hell was going on with Zack Snyder at that time, but we'll touch on that later on when we get to that. I'll save that for then, but yeah, Doomsday's involvement at least leads to the biggest problem with this, and that is that I think they really need to get this shit fixed up. Zack Snyder does not give a fuck about Superman. Anybody who knows anything about Superman knows that nobody who was a fan of Superman would do the shit that they do with him in this movie. Toy boat. I'm getting so frustrated, I'm losing my mind here. Amy Adams and Lawrence Fishburne are good here as Lois and Perry White. I think they're good, but they weren't really given all that much to do. But to Snyder's defense, he at least knew how to use those actors to good effect. Everything else, not so much. Here's an example of that. The opening scene in the movie is Lois and another reporter captured by terrorists, and the reporter is shot in the head by one of them. Guess who that was? Jimmy Olsen. Yeah. Zack Snyder basically killed off Jimmy Olsen for no reason whatsoever. We don't even get to know anything about Olsen, except he's just there to, again, be fan service. But that's not what makes it so damn upsetting. It's what Snyder did, and what he did to basically say, we just did this little aside because we were tracking where we thought the movies were going to go, and we didn't have room for Jimmy Olsen, our big pantheon of characters, but we can have fun with it, right? So the reason why Jimmy Olsen had to die was because there is no room for him in your future movie plans, and you thought it would be fun. Do you understand how fucking stupid that makes you, and how much of an asshole that makes you? I mean, talk about being so much of somebody that does not give a fuck about this universe that you were brought in to direct. It's just proof that this guy just does not care. Anybody who knows the character in the mythos of Superman knows that Jimmy Olsen is not a stupid side character. He plays just as important of a role as a side character than somebody like Lois Lane does. Hell, if it wasn't for him in the last Superman movie by James Gunn, who knows what would have happened to Superman? And they made Jimmy Olsen cool in that movie. He made him a nerd, but he still got the hot chicks. I mean, like, I mean, even his spin-off comic book series by Jack Kirby. Like, how does somebody fuck up on this so badly? You didn't have to make Jimmy Olsen the main character, but you didn't deserve to give him the fate that you gave him in this movie. And if that wasn't bad enough, this was just the point where I just had to say, Henry Cavill fucking sucks as Superman. He is just not Superman at all. He's a sucky actor, too. The dude had no charisma. He barely had any emotions whatsoever, and his acting is about as wooden as Plank from Ed, Edd and Eddy. Like, Plank has more emotion than Henry Cavill does in these early movies that he was in. Now, granted, yes, he's gotten a lot better with The Witcher, but back then, it's just kind of like, man, what are you doing, man? Like, why did anybody think that you were gonna be anything? Like, maybe that's why I love Batman kicking the ever-loving shit out of Superman towards the end, because he's just not Superman. It's not even funny. Like, I would still say Brandon Routh is a far better Superman than Henry Cavill was, or ever will be, and nothing will ever top Christopher Reeve. Although David Cornsweet was really good in Superman. He'd probably be my second favorite in the film Supermans, but the movie tries to consistently portray Superman as a modern-day Jesus Christ, even down to having a whole bunch of people moving their hands towards him like he's God, and all I can think to myself is, this guy, really? There's even a scene in where you have a Senate hearing in Washington where you think, okay, he's about to give this speech about what he does, why he does what he does, and then the place just explodes for no reason, and you realize Zack Snyder, again, doesn't want to make him a deep character because he doesn't give a shit about that, and he can't write drama for him. Oh, and by the way, that courtroom scene, Superman could figure out what Alfred was saying to Bruce at Lex's party, but he couldn't figure out that something was off in the courtroom. Like, does he have selective hearing or something? No, it's because Zack Snyder wants there to be another pointless explosion with more innocent people getting killed. Which brings us to the worst thing about this movie, and it's time to reveal the moment of truth, ladies and gentlemen. Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor, or as I like to call him, Jar Jar Lex Luthor. I was also thinking maybe Lex Luthor played by Paul Lynde, but he's Jar Jar Binks. And just like Jar Jar Binks, he is the most fucking annoying character in this whole goddamn movie. And may very well be one of the most annoying characters of all time. I am not even kidding. You thought Lex and Superman Brainiac Attacks was cartoonishly over the top? Jesse Eisenberg takes the cake for the most cheesiest, most over-the-top portrayal of Lex I have ever seen in my entire life. He doesn't even capture Lex's personas in past movies. He was only there to be the most annoying, most lamest, most stereotypically bad villain you could possibly be. So much so that by the time we got to the final battle and he's still talking, I literally screamed out in the theater, "Shut the fuck up!" I literally screamed that out, but luckily it was during a big action sequence where it was loud, because I probably would have been kicked out of the theater by that point. It was that bad, and it's just yet another reason why this guy never wanted anything to do with Superman. Just remember, folks, the only reason we got this Man of Steel in the first damn place was because Warner Brothers was about to lose the rights to Superman, and they had to get a film in production by 2012 and release it by 2013, and to keep the rights going. So they had to go to Zack Snyder, who was one of the shortlist directors. They had Ridley Scott, Guillermo del Toro, Robert Zemeckis, Darren Aronofsky, Jonathan Liebsen, Matt Reeves, Tony Scott, and even Ben Affleck, but they went with Zack Snyder because I would get him too after Sucker Punch, wouldn't you? So yeah, that's my whole argument about Zack Snyder never caring enough about Superman to make a good movie, and probably taking the job solely to get on board Justice League so he can work with characters he obviously cares about more. And maybe that's why he wanted Doomsday here to kill off Superman, at least for now. But, I mean, and there's one last thing I gotta bring up here, and that, again, it's the reason why they were fighting in that third act in the first place, and what causes them to come to a common ground. It's not because of the ideologies they share and all that. You want to know why they stopped fighting to begin with? Because as Batman is about to kill Superman, Superman basically says, "Save Martha," and Batman's just like, "Why'd you say that name?" And he says this so many times, it takes Lois Lane to come in and literally say, "Martha is his mother." Argument's over. They're best friends now. I'm not even kidding you. It's not even that Superman is the one that has to do it. It has to be Lois Lane who has to come in and tell him this. Like, this might be the longest review I've ever done on here, but we're coming up on 20 minutes of me talking about this movie. That's how much I hate this movie. That's how much I hate this film so much. Like, I mean, and you're going to get those people who are still going to defend it even after all these years, but I don't care, man. This is a terrible movie. I said back then, it's the Phantom Menace of comic book movies, and I still stick by that to this very day. There are things about it that are good, but everything else about it is just a waste of entertainment and just downright offensive. offensive. I can't even talk right. I've been talking this long. It pains me to even say something like this because you know what? I've been waiting for this movie my entire life. You saw the video I did back when I showed you some of my old videos I did in high school. I did a video with these Batman and Superman action figures and made a little movie out of it. That's how much I wanted to see this. This was back when Wolfgang Peterson was going to do a Batman Superman movie, but that never got made. Even before then, I love these characters. These are two of the greatest superheroes of all time. They've made great movies and TV shows. In the past, we've talked about plenty. Not just here, but on the website. But for a movie like this to be released in this way that they put it out, it pains me. Pains me to say that this is as bad as it is, but I'm telling you people, this is Phantom Menace all over again. Like, I could show you that montage of the people reacting to Phantom Menace in 1999, but I already did it recently for Star Wars The Force Awakens, and I'm sorry to tell you that your people are still going to feel that way when there is that one day. Maybe not now, maybe not back then, but yeah, it's the same situation here. It's the same situation that it's still it's the same thing that happens every time we get a movie like this, where everyone's overhyping it up at the beginning. Some people come out going like, "Well, it's actually not that bad," and then people start to hate it, and then all of a sudden, that one guy goes, "Guys, it's really not that bad." And everyone's just like, "Oh, you're right. This guy is right all along." No. He's not right all along. Phantom Menace is still terrible. So is Batman v Superman. But what about the extended cut? Because I did watch the extended cut later on, and I will say, it's slightly better. It's not great, but it's better than what they had. But that's basically saying Donald Trump's going a week without doing something that's destroying the world. I mean, it doesn't really matter. The movie still sucks. It's still this generation's Phantom Menace, and you'd really be better off not even bothering with this. It's a terrible movie. It's a terrible movie. There are things about it that I do like, but I'm sorry. I still have the same reactions I did when I watched this 10 years ago. It's a bad movie. Too much is going on. The story makes no sense. They're focusing more on nostalgia and fan service, and not in a good way. It's made by somebody who clearly does not give a shit about this universe of characters and wants to direct a movie with the other characters that he makes more interesting. It shows in this movie. Have I made the point? Have I made the point that I hate Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice? Have I made the point that it's the worst movie of 2016? Have I made it the point that it's one of the worst comic book movies ever made? One of the worst movies I've ever seen? Have you got that point yet? 23 minutes of me talking about this isn't enough for you, but anyway. I need a palate cleanser. So let's see if our next movie will do just that.
Mark, these are the colleges I'm applying to. Why do you want to leave me?
This franchise is the only thing that's making me money in this world. Nobody wanted to go see My Life in Ruins or Connie and Carla. This is all I have left. No, really. This is all Nia Vardalos has left. So what do? Make a sequel nobody was asking for. Behold another thing that I really don't like about movies nowadays. Comedy sequels coming way past the point where people were asking for this. My Big Fat Greek Wedding 2. Somebody wanted to do this, and that somebody was Nia Vardalos, because, like I said, she literally has nothing left except this, the only thing that made her money in her entire career. Still working in her parents' Greek restaurant, Tula Portokalos' daughter Paris is growing up. She's getting ready to graduate high school, and Tula and Ian are experiencing marital issues. When Tula's parents find out they were never officially married, another wedding is in the works. Could this Big Fat Greek event be helping the family together? No, it isn't, because you literally are retconning the previous movie so you can make another movie and try to get as much money as you can. And guess what? People weren't stupid enough to buy into this. Really, this movie didn't make even a third of what the original movie did. Yeah, it made its money back, but then again, the original movie wasn't an expensive movie either. But I don't know, man. I did not like this. I did not like this movie. I thought it was terrible. I thought it was just nothing but a here we go again sequel. Just basically just tell them, oh, you were never married, so it gives us a chance to redo the same thing we did in the last movie again. No. That's not an excuse. That's not an excuse to make another movie. If you can't figure out to do anything to do with a sequel after 14 years, maybe it's time to realize that maybe your career's over, Nia. I mean, like I said, you've tried to do other things outside of this, and it just has not worked. And instead of going back to what worked the first time around, way past the point where it's too little too late, why don't you just accept the fact that, hey, you were a one-trick pony, and just go ahead and do something else? I mean, and go ahead and just move on with your life. I mean, There's nothing wrong with leaving something when you have nothing else to share with this in general. And I'm sorry, there was no reason to make a sequel to this, nor a third film, which she directed later on down the road, which, guess what, was also terrible as well. So what's the point of even doing this? Like, I don't get it. I don't get it at all. Nothing about this movie worked. Yeah, the acting is fine, I guess, but other than that, though, there's literally nothing in here that was done that you could have done in just the first movie. There's no reason for this to get made. There's literally nothing in here that warrants a sequel. Nothing at all. I can't tell. I'm sorry, and I know I just went off on Batman v Superman for a long time. I'm going to be short on this, but really, there's literally no reason for this to get made at all. There's literally no reason to have everybody come back together, except to help Nia Vardalos pay off her debts that she probably has. Because, okay, I'm making it seem like I hate Nia Vardalos. I don't hate her, but I'm sorry. To go back to doing the one thing that made you money, any kind of big money in your life, without nothing to do to make you want to come back, give you. This whole episode, I've just been having trouble with my words. Hold on a second. Woozah! Okay. I think I can get through this now. I'm almost about to have an aneurysm if I kept going, but bottom line, if you don't have a reason to make a sequel, just don't make a sequel. The first movie ended on a good enough note. There's no reason to keep doing the same movie over and over again. There's no reason to keep taking the Hangover route and just make another movie because, the first movie was a big success, so clearly the second one will be even more successful. It doesn't work that way. It just does not work that way. And like I said, I don't hate anybody involved in this movie. If anything, the casting overall here is the thing that does make this somewhat enjoyable, because you do like seeing these characters coming back together again. But even then, it's not worth it in the end. We're going to get to another comedy sequel coming well past the last movie, with a Barbershop coming up in April, but that one worked better, and I'll explain why that one worked better when we get to that one. But as far as this one goes, it's literally nothing but this first movie all over again, except the characters are regressed down. It's another here we go again sequel with an idea to basically not do this, to just basically void the entire reason that first movie even existed, so we can have another movie, and it just doesn't work. It just does not work in this movie at all. So I got nothing else for you, man. I'm tired. Doing two of these back to back probably was not a good idea, but I wanted to get through this one. So that is my Big Fat Greek Wedding 2. And next week's probably not going to be any better, because we have yet another sequel, God's Not Dead 2, which at least this one makes sense because it's coming a couple of years after God's Not Dead was the big unexpected hit, so I guess there's that. But we have another spoof movie, this time tackling The Purge with Meet the Blacks with Mike Epps. But we do get at least one good movie out of this weekend, Richard Linklater's latest film, Everybody Wants Some. And also, that's it, just those three movies, so we'll take a look at those three movies coming up tomorrow on the show, so stay tuned for that. But with all of that said, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please go ahead and do me the honors of hitting that like button, that subscribe button, and that notification button. Also, don't forget to check out our playlist, and don't forget to check out the previous episode we did. So with all that said, whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the movies. Take care.